What's up, everybody? I hope we're well. Today on the Build for Pressure podcast, I'm joined by a friend, previous teammate, Donny, but more so somebody I want to explore his mind, Mr. Alex Shaw, who played professional rugby and now owns Kickback Coffee, which you can see in the background. The aim of this episode is to not just talk about how amazing this coffee is, more so from his transition from professional sport all the way through to owning a business to now having an amazing team. Alex, I was about to say thank you for having me, mate. Give us a bit of an oversight. Who's Alex Shaw? Where are you from? And more so, give us a bit of an oversight of sort of what's built you to currently.
Okay. Thank you very much for coming, more importantly. So I grew up in Leicester and I had a childhood dream of being a rugby player. Like, simple as I wanted to play for England, and the end of that story is I didn't, and I would give up everything that I have today to still play for England. I genuinely believe that. But left Leicester, but was fortunate enough to have a professional career till I was 31. And on that journey, I played at Leicester, played at Sale. We played together at Doncaster, and I was also at Nottingham. And I think the summary of my rugby career is I absolutely loved everything that I was able to achieve. I definitely left something on the table. I left with the ability to say that there could have been a little bit more, but I smile because I've got friends who played for England, and look, I would absolutely have loved to have done that, but there's many reasons that I didn't. But yeah, I'm now here in South Manchester, running Kickback Coffee.
The mighty. There's so much to unpack there, man, in relation to. I could dig a little bit deeper into that piece. I think something that I come across and I've had in my personal life, and I ended up having quite an intervention in relation to when I finished rugby, was this like shift in, I had no idea who I was. But the same thing was like the dream was always play higher, no matter what we were doing. And I was in a bit of a different context. You getting injured and then even getting back to playing at Donny was not supposed to happen, and I did. But how did you actually know you'd hit that ceiling? Or did you actually, was it a case of it? Because I think that's something that a lot of players are. We've got some people who are watching who will be like on the brink of their career, but they've got this weird underlying unsure. But there's others that are similar to me and you that are like, I've got something left to give. But how did you deal with that? And when did you know? Or was it a case of it sort of dissipated?
I think there's many different ways that you can be a professional rugby player these days. And I think if I just speak about my experience and people who sort of like were in and around a similar age, is I almost started at the absolute like peak. I was one of these players that had loads and loads of potential, and over my career, I slowly lost that potential, if that makes sense. And so I was a junior player at one of the best, I think the best club in the world at that point, Leicester Tigers.
Back in the day, they were the dominant force, definitely across here.
I was playing, I played for the England teams all the way through 16s, 18s, 20s. So again, doing really well at that point. And I think that transition from being a really good academy player to trying to break it into a first team, I was trying to break into a Premiership first team. So I was just never good enough. That was the short of it. And look, sometimes timing and opportunities, you might only have one.
Yeah.
And I definitely had a good opportunity when I moved up to Sale to play during a World Cup year. It just wasn't good enough. It was as simple as that.
Yeah. So hard.
And if you put sort of like points in your life where you're like, could I have had that one back? I still have a memory of a particular game, and I did so many things that were just uncharacteristic of me at that time. And Philippe Saint-André was the coach at the time, and it was probably about 12 months later, if not 18 months later, we were sat down having a sort of a one-on-one, and he was like, "Oh yeah, no, I remember you from that game, and I never changed."
Yeah.
And look, just to be clear, my rugby career didn't stall because of that one game.
No.
But I think for me, it was I was a young player with loads of potential, and I never quite got to it. So as the years were going by, I still loved turning up every single week. I loved playing in the teams that I did. I loved the competitions that we got to play. But I knew that there wasn't like a hockey stick at the other end where I'm going to suddenly go on a run and play in the Prem, or what I hoped for, which was play for England. So I think I had a very good understanding somewhere towards my late 20s that Championship is where you're going to play. you're going to have some really good memories, but you got to start making sure that you have a plan to come out. And I think the other thing that is key that I think I made the decision on was I want to be able to walk away, not be told that you're too old, too slow, not good enough, or that sometimes you don't get this, but you're injured.
Broke you, yeah.
Exactly. So, I saw a progression of getting further away from my original like childhood dream of playing for England to, right, you got to make a plan to exit, and you want to do it on your own route.
Massive. Yeah, I think I was very similar in relation to starting with the dream of you had this, that's it. That's all I'm going to do. I'll play it for England, even though I'm a little sausage. And it's like you said, it's easy to reflect back on that. Going back into when you were in that period where you had this sort of like mini realization, you probably wouldn't have acknowledged it as much to yourself. Again, challenged me. What were you feeling at that point? And then off camera, we were talking about your trip. You basically, you're driving from Manchester across the country to come and play at Donny with me and back. Give us a bit of an oversight about did you actually recognize that at the time, or were you just curious in the next step? Or was it a case of, right, I know that championship's my level, I'm fully appreciative that this isn't going to serve me for the rest of my life, I need to start building a skill? Or was it just this side of the Kickback kind of evolved naturally? How did that happen?
I think it was at my time during Sale where I thought that, right, this is the opportunity to really make it. And in my last season there, I knew that I was going to have to step down, either play in the championship or go even further down and then almost like start this semi-professional life. So at that point, it was, well, what is it that I want to do? So I started going to night school and I did accountancy. And at the same time, I started to utilize things such as podcasts, spend time listening to things that I found interesting. Sport has always been has been my life. Right?
Yeah.
It has, but equally, I've got key people in my life that have business as a focal point of theirs. And I think when you're a sports person, you're so locked into what it is that you're trying to achieve that it's very, very easy to almost like forget about or not listen to some of the other sort of like triggers in your life. And at the point that I was essentially doing the thing that I dreamed of, which was playing in a Premiership team, but then realizing that this isn't going to get this isn't happening. Yeah, this is you pretty much not done, but
it's the level that I'm going to
exactly.
Yeah.
So I suppose some of that was doing night school, planning for the end, listening to podcasts. I referenced the fact that I listened to Tim Ferriss and some of the amazing stories of people that he was interviewing. It just gives you inspiration.
Yeah.
And that's often what you need.
Yeah. I think something that I find, especially I talk about elite environments, and I've spoke to people who are special forces and who are in that sort of same arena in relation to how elite they are, but totally different context. Everything's funneled towards one goal. But like you said there, the realization that you were on a steady descent, you weren't on the ascent. You had the curiosity to go, hang on a minute, what do I actually enjoy? Most honestly, that's like such an elite level answer, because the amount of people that if you ask them, what do you find fun? They'll look at it, especially in sport, it's all sport. Or it's all dull stuff that is just whatever. Footballers going off partying, or they use that as the funnel compared to, hang on a minute, if I start diversifying my skill set, I start seeing, because this is, at surface level, this isn't an accountancy firm, but the reality is you're dealing with numbers, it's the same precision, totally different vessel. When you were in rugby and that was happening, was that quite acute, i.e. when you're at Donny, you had a couple of years and you pulled the trigger, or was it like, hang on a minute, I know I've got 5 years left? Because I think that's a big one, is like the amount of boys that we know who they started as they knew their level, they recognized, hang on a minute, I need something else here, not just for me personally, but professionally. But there's also a massive nucleus of players and even entrepreneurs that wait until they wait until it's crisis to make a decision, in compared to, instead of me just being curious now. Was there a particular time, or was it just a case of this is quite natural to you?
Yeah, no, I get that. I think the fortunate thing that you have with professional sports, or I'll mainly speak about rugby because some are slightly different, is you've got a cap. Like even the best players in the world, they're still hitting it around that 34, 35. So if you take that your career is going to finish sometime between 30 and 35. You've probably covered off 95% of all careers.
Yeah.
And so I suppose when I sort of like got to the point where I knew that I was 28, 29, 30, 31, in and around those age, you're already starting asking questions. Well, what am I going to do next? I think if I was to sort of like reflect on everything, I was always someone who wanted to do a little bit more. So even whilst I was playing and I did night school, I was still a coach. So on a day off, I would be doing coaching. Then with the accountancy, I'd then on another day off, I'd go into a firm and I'd try and get experience in practice. And one of the things that you said previously was that idea of being able to accept that you're trying to find something you're interested in. One of the biggest takeaways from sort of like that period was don't try and think about what you're going to do next. Just try things and tick them off and know that you're not going to do that.
Yeah, that's the massive one, man. Like, people try and find that I have to leave the thing that I absolutely adore to move into the thing that I'm going to adore. Like, it's the exact opposite. Like, find out what you don't want. This gives you it gives you the litmus test further on, right?
Even to a point of, if you ask me at 24, 25, what are you going to do after you finish playing? Even in the peak of whatever my career was, be like, I'm going to be an accountant, going to be in finance. When I answered that, I didn't even know coffee roasting was a thing. I didn't even know it existed.
No.
And I think that is probably my biggest thing that I end up saying to sports people is, don't worry about what it has to be. You've just got to go try stuff. You've got to explore. You've got to be willing to say yes to things, because it's so much easier to answer this question is, I know I definitely don't want to do that.
1,000,000%.
And that's been my thing.
That's huge. I think, like I'm with you with it of like before, even whilst I was trying to play any form of professional rugby, I was a gamekeeper. I worked a farm. I worked a vineyard. I was a brickie. I've done all these random jobs. And it's not I didn't like them. It's just that I had so much worldly experience of it. When I went into PT, when I did my leg, I'd already been doing PT for 5 years on my own. So it was like it was already like easy cash, but I enjoyed people. We'll zoom out in relation to the transition of it, because I think that's probably where the meat and potatoes is for people who it's not only. I think the lessons aren't just for sports people. It's for founders who have got this dream of, like you said, Kickback used to be a black cup with a sticker on it that was you drawing with a Sharpie, compared to this thing now. This is something I'm quite intrigued with, because I think this is huge. When you knew, right, you were going to hang out the boots and it was like, cool, whatever, 5 games time, I'm done. What was the internal experience like? What were you going through internally whilst that was happening? And the sort of 6 months after you pulled the trigger from rugby, then it was this. What was happening inside of your Swede, and how did you deal with it? Because I think that's where people are getting this. This is the bottleneck for most.
Yeah. Okay, so if we talk about the last 12 months, so like I said, I was fortunate that I knew that I entered my last season and it was going to be my last one. I'd made that decision. Was I 100%? No.
You're at peace
was
with it.
I way above 50? Yes, I absolutely was. That was the run. So I was actually accounting. I'd decided a few years previously I did not want to be an accountant, but I got introduced to a financial advisor through St. James's Place, SJP. So in my last year, on my day off, I was going into office 1 day a week, getting experience, but I was also doing my qualifications, professional qualifications for that. So let's say day one of my last season, it was, I'm going to finish this season, then I'm going to become a financial advisor. That was the strategy. And at this time, I also had a hobby, which was coffee roasting. Okay. So those things are true. The other part to it was, as part of my, say, rugby career, one of the things I wanted to tick off was playing abroad. So there was also that in there as well. And as we started to get towards the end of the season, I was definitive. Like after Christmas, I knew that was it, 100%, I'm done. And then it was like, let's go play. So I ended up playing half a season out in Australia at Manly. And when I got on the plane, it was going to do this, come back, and I'm going to be a financial advisor. Okay?
Yeah.
That was it. Then I have this moment at the end of that period in Manly where I'm overlooking Sydney Harbour at night, and I just went, fuck that.
Yeah.
Genuinely did. And so much of it was that was the end of my career, and it was a hobby. And so many sort of professional rugby players and professional sports people will say this, like, I was fortunate for this amount of years, for this chunk of my life, to do something I would have been willing to do for free.
Yeah.
And I'd got this thing which was coffee roasting, and it wasn't solely a hobby at that point. I'd done a couple of farmers markets. I'd sort of like tested the water, and it was not quite a business, but it was something there was money coming in, but it was pocket money, not
it was play money to get to correct. Just keep it going. To be
able to keep roasting, that's probably the best way of saying it. Is that I sold enough coffee so I could buy more and be able to learn how to roast. It was always that, and that moment overlooking Sydney Harbour was, I'm going to do whatever I need to come back to the UK and give Kickback a go as running a business. Because if there was one thing that I finished my rugby career saying, was I was proud that I took a hobby and turned it into a job.
Yeah, nice.
Why would I not do that twice?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. How sick's that? I think there's so many lessons there, especially for the people that are at that sort of like fuck it moment of like, cool, society's telling me, everyone's going to tell me job security, the stereotype, you'll have good money, you'll have a nice life, but actually, hang on a minute, fuck that, I'm going to go on the sword here. I think there's such a glory in I'm willing to burn in flames with it. I had it moving online personally. Singapore everything was good. I moved out there with 700 quid, I slept on a sofa at someone's house, I had no money, built up my whole PT business, I was looking to invest in gyms and all this other stuff. I was like, nah, you know what I want to do? I want to have my own freedom. And everyone was like, what are you doing? Well, Singapore's good money. It changed my life. I was like, I know, but that's not I think, I'd be curious to know your take on it. I feel that's probably, I'd argue, a narrative of Kickback generally now. It's like that exploratory phase of, cool, we're going to build this, get this to here, but why can't we try this, see what happens, try this, see what happens? Or is it more, is it different?
I don't know if I would necessarily describe it like that. I think one of the things that has come from, let's say, the rugby career to the transition, for me, it was, I started this by saying I want to play for England, right? And I said that I'd give up everything to play for England.
Yeah.
Like, that is aiming big. Like, go big, tell people you want to do it. And if there was one thing that I think has benefited Kickback's journey, is that one of the things that I say is that Kickback is a specialty coffee roaster. That's what we do, right? We import coffee and we roast it, and we do it really well. But the bit that makes us unique is, I say, we're the adventure coffee company and we want to take on Red Bull. Yeah, and people look at you and go, huh? As in, like, that is the level that I want to go. You could come back for an interview in 10 years, 20 years, and I might turn around and go, didn't quite get Red Bull. Yeah. But I promise you this, by having that goal of aiming as high as we are, we're going to have a hell of a journey getting there.
Yeah. That's wicked. I think the level of courage it takes to even put those sort of, that go against the grain like that is massive. And it's funny, innit? In sport, it's very different. Like you said, if you're a young buck in any form of pro academy, someone looks at you, I want to play for England, everyone's like, yeah, cool. Because it's like obvious. But when you've got other responsibilities, and actually now, especially now you've got a growing team and you've got family and that happens, I feel that level of responsibility to drive that level of performance, goal and growth, that's actually a huge exploratory phase. And I think it seems to have come across in your whole rugby careers. You're willing to explore your full capacity. I've got this obsession with capacity. That's like we've got a whole like index of how do you measure someone's physical, psychological and professional capacity, and how do we build it, and that kind of stuff through Built for Pressure. But this is what I find in elite sport. When you talk to elite level sports people, that's quite a default mechanism. And this becomes, but where did you learn that? What's in that level of like audacious, you know, fuck this, I'm going to go big? Because I think some people say it, but not a lot actually challenge it. When they leave sport, especially, a lot of them, I know so many people that do the accountancy vibe, just, you know, fuck this, I'm going to go. Whereas you're going, nah, I need the excitement, I need the, where is that from? Is it just
maybe I left some on the table, right?
Okay,
maybe
nice.
Maybe it's that, is if I'm fortunate, I've got some friends who did play for England, are British Lions, and I don't know if they were sat here having the conversation that they might say it, well,
level of urgency.
My career it never reached what I wanted, so I never got that idea of aiming big and actually walking away and getting it. And I don't know, potentially it's something that's rooted in that part of it that, well, what would I say there? So I probably would, is that maybe I failed in the rugby career.
No, so it's now, massive. Yeah.
And look, some people, especially if you're a squad player in a sports team, and this spans not just rugby, but it's everything. You're a professional, like, I was a bag holder.
Yeah.
Professional bag holder.
It's teaching that, yeah.
It is.
It's great on your CV, but actually, you doing it, you are just literally a collision machine. That's it.
I often share this story with people who work in the real world. And I'm like, right, picture what your job is today. I'll tell you what mine was, right? So your responsibility is sit there on a laptop, okay? My job was the equivalent of having to stand next to you and watch you, right? Watch you every day, 8 hours a day, and just watch you type. And then when you'd present it, I'd follow you, and then I'd smile because you've got it. And then come back the next day and I'd do it again, and I'd just watch you, and I'd never get to do the actual thing. And I think so much of the some of the elements of my playing career, I think there's potentially that tenacity, still sort of like the desire to achieve sort of like a big goal. I think that's probably still there.
Yeah. It's like underdog mentality. Yeah, across the board.
Even to a point of my sort of post-playing activity, like exercise. I'm shocking. I've got the worst exercise after sports, in the sense of I've got no routine. I don't do anything regularly. What I do is I pick a challenge that is really hard, and then I have to train for it.
Yeah, nice.
And I think potentially some of that is because you pick something and people are like, what? You're doing that? It's like, yeah. And then I go and get it. And I don't know, maybe you even covered something about me is that I like picking things that are hard.
Well, pressure needs pressure, right? And the underdog cycles are really, really normal from people who aren't the genetic gifts that are like whatever, Usain Bolt or rugby players, all these people who we say are like gods. The normal bag holders who've got the internal dialogue of I still want to fucking give everything to make this, but the reality is it's not going to happen. Rugby's a weird sport. I always say with rugby after I left, your whole career dictated on someone's opinion. Whereas if my wife's a 100 fly swimmer for GB, she either wins or she doesn't. Or she's either the fastest, she's not. When me and you, apart from you smashing me in the line out, regardless of a back row, if they said, nah, do you know what? I don't fancy him weak. I fancy him because of this attribute, and you could have had the best game ever. That used to not even just professional, that happened in sport for me. I found that the same thing for you, that dogged mentality of I still need to prove myself. And when I in Singapore, I left, I was lost. I knew I wanted to build a career in fitness. I was like, because I'm good at it, it's fucking easy. I've got an S&D degree, I'm a nutritionist. Why not? I met Jay Headley from the coaching room. He's the mental performance coach for Fiji. It works with C-suite people, and he basically opened me up like a can of fucking worms. So basically, like, the only reason why you're playing rugby is because you wanted to prove yourself and all this stuff. And I was like, hang on a minute. That's my biggest vice, is that I felt this was holding me back. But the reality was that was my biggest gift, is like, why couldn't I do something so fucking big? And I go, okay, cool. Came up from an injury. I said I was going to walk again. And then it was like, hang on a minute. Are you playing? I didn't play very high, but how can I make this I'm still there doing it. And how do I make a situation better? I think that's a really common trait with sports people of, previous episode, Max Lamont, he's one of my clients, a CEO of Forge Talent. Used to play tennis Scotland for under 20s and that kind of thing, similar position. Got to close, sacked it off. The level of aggression he has with growth in his business is wild. And I said it's definitely the internal, there's another gear here for me to find compared to I found my gear. I've played 100 games for England. Now I can just get fat and bored and had enough, and suddenly you start shit yourself. Well, hang on, you've taken your elite level mentality and brought this into a totally different profession. Give us a rundown about how did Kickback even start? Name, where, what? Like, give us a bit of like, because cool, you've left rugby and you've now got this like, fuck this, I'm gonna do something else massive. This has to start somewhere.
Yeah. Okay. So in terms of the Kickback was never meant to be a business. I started as a hobby, and that was an introduction that came from a old club sponsor at Nottingham that I got on with, and he said he was going to open a coffee roaster. So went there, met Tim, who they'd employed to do the roasting. He was like, oh, you can do this with a popcorn machine. And the only way I can explain it is I walked into that space and it was my ignition moment. I loved the smell, loved the sight, loved the sound, loved everything. And it was all for just, I'm intrigued. I drank coffee, and I think there's probably an element of, I see myself as having a bit of an engineer's mindset, as in I like to know how things work.
The mechanics of it.
And equally, I like baking. I like cooking. I like I like being in the kitchen. So it all kind of tied together. So left that experience with 200 degrees and came back, found a popcorn machine on Gumtree. I bought beans off eBay and I fell down this rabbit hole. The only way I can explain it is it just worked for me whilst I was playing. And I do it in my kitchen. And as I've already alluded to, it was never meant to be a business. It was just, I wanted to do more, wanted to do more. It's
an escape as well, I think.
I think so.
In a good way. Like, especially, it's just, you're not going home and like reading about how much chicken you have on those scales. It's your love and passion goes away from being a technician to more of like an artist.
Yeah.
When you do that kind of stuff, yeah.
And I think it was that point where the hobby was getting too expensive. So I said yes to doing a farmer's market. I could go sell the coffee, so I could essentially buy more coffee. But it always came down to this point of, to get better at roasting, you had to roast different coffees, you had to roast in different styles, you had to be able to get feedback. So that kind of fed the wanting to get better at roasting standpoint. We bolt on a couple of conversations we already had, rugby start to finish. I thought I had a path which was finance, accounting, advising, and I also had this hobby that was just like coming along with
the background,
with my life. And the bit of standing there in Oz, and Australia has a huge coffee culture. So whilst I was there, I'd been to visit other roasters. I'd been to see all of these amazing sort of coffee shops and brands and gaining inspiration. And
Belgrave Cartel's the one in Manly. It's on the high street. That's the one I used to go to. If you off the wharf, you go straight up on your right. I used to go to that all the time.
I vaguely remember. But I think, this whole idea of a hobby slowly just coming along and being there at the right time, and that evening overlooking the harbour was the point where I was like, let's do it. Let's see what we can achieve. And I sent the email there and then, St. James' Place, saying I'm
out.
I'm done. I'm not coming back. The plan before I got on the plane was I'll be a barista. I'll be a barista. I'll do whatever I needed to do to be able to get enough money to earn so that I could then run this business. And a short version of the next, it's probably about 18 months, less than 2 years, was a friend's got a property company and he was like, look, I need a bit of a researcher, project manager, 3 days a week. You can work remotely. You might have to come down to London once a month, that sort of stuff. Do you want it? I was like, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
And he was like, look, we're mates, so let's agree to this. If you ever need to do less, you come to me. If I ever need more, I'll come to you. And we accept that if those two things don't match at that point, we're just going to cut ties and just protect the friendship, basically. Yeah, sure. And he's one of my best friends. So
nice. That's a nice moral to the story. Yeah.
It is. And 18 months later, he picked up the phone. He's like, I need you full time. Are you in? And I was like, no. And that one point is one of the best things that ever happened, because if you had asked me, was Kickback ready to go at that point? I was like, no, fuck it. And I've got this story that I share, is that when people are transitioning from a hobby to a full-time thing, or I've got this project, it's part-time, but I'm also doing this, they use the phrase, but that's my safety net. And my job in this property company felt like my safety net. And I reframed it afterwards, and only after the fact. It was never my safety net, it was my anchor. And an anchor does the same thing. It keeps you steady and you feel safe. The problem that it does, it holds you back. And the moment that you took the anchor away, I was like, fuck.
Here we go. Momentum's coming now.
But that's it. Off we went.
Yeah. There's such a huge moral to the story. When I was in Singapore, and there's a guy called Tim Castle who wrote a book called Be the Line. He's a negotiator for Fortune 500 companies for deals. Wrote a book it's about life's purpose and negotiation. There's 2 books. Read his book, and in his book basically says that he bought these tickets to go fly and meet a mentor in America for loads, all his money he had, and he went on to earn this. So I sent him an email. I was like, fuck it, I need to meet you. And he was like, yeah, I'm in Starbucks in Amoy Street, which is literally not Amoy, just back of Amoy Street, which is 1 street away from my gym. Went and met him, and ever since that conversation, the similar position, his big thing was around, you just got to have the courage to burn the boats. And because once you've got no opportunity to step back, the only way you can do is step forward. What was, again, I'm always curious about the inner game of that. Was there, once you pulled the pin and once there wasn't a go back moment, was it always just green light gas, or was there ever a bit of you which is like, fucking hell, it's just going too fast, or this is too much, or was it just very much like, right, cool, I've committed, dive, let's go?
From a business perspective, I feel like that question is almost, you could split it two ways. Is what was the personal effect, and what was the business effect? The business effect is, we're moving forward and we're going to stick at this pace, and it is a narrative that I share with the team even today. It's like, I'll never apologize for the pace that Kickback's going. We want to find good people to come on the journey with us. And the one time where it often goes wrong is if you don't keep up with the pace. We're not going to slow down for people.
Nice.
So from that perspective, it is definitely a, ready, steady, go.
Yeah,
let's
lock and
go.
load, pull the trigger and go.
Exactly. From a personal standpoint, there's definitely moments in the last 6, 7, 8 years, 10 years that it feels like it's going pretty fast. And I think there's several different ways that I've ended up dealing with it. There's several good examples of things that I haven't dealt with very well. But I think, look, I think that's a good way to give you character.
And leadership's ugly, mate. Like, I work similarly with people who are running international firms who have got thousands of employees. The same principle applies. Is once you punch through, people I specialize with is the gap where you punch through, where it's like, it's so overwhelming, but you still have to perform. I think there's a huge narrative especially with people that have played at a high level in sport. They can compartmentalize that and use it as energy a lot more effectively than regular people, because there'll be times where you've played professional sport where you've got 3 minutes left and you have to defend the line. It's like all those little tricks and things that you never would have thought in your life that was going to have a carryover of when someone comes to you and goes, listen, I've got an order that's 20% bigger than anything you've ever done before. And you look at your mate going, how are we going to do this? Instead of it, we use, around stress physiology, you either got someone who's reactive or responsive. Responsive is like a challenge response. It's like the challenge response is like, well, yeah, cool. We got to have a dig at this, compared to, oh no. I think, like you said, the piece that around Kickback, which is wicked, is just walking in here is an energy thing. I'm a weirdo with energy, because it's like you can go and talk to anybody about anything, but if they're passionate, they can't fake it. Yeah. And especially when you go into corporate environments, you can shake hands with some weapon who is just, you can tell with his fake turkey teeth of how woke and boring and not even like authentic. Whereas flip it back again, because I think this is quite a cool piece. It's like when you've made that decision, you've started getting momentum. What are some key sort of stories inside of the sort of trajectory to now that you felt were like definitive in Kickback's growth? Because I think that's like a big founder story for you, because you've gone from your mate who's got a popcorn machine of Gumtree to, I'm not going to pretend how much I know how much one of those is worth, but you see the trajectory of this and team and people, and you've only been here 4 months, 5 months, so it's like it's just go. Bring us into the okay, wicked. We know what we're doing. We're locked in. We're pushing forward. Kickback's got this small pebble with rolling. Now we've got a boulder. What were some sort of milestones inside of that journey?
For a lot of people who started a business around the same time, it's going to be the same answer: COVID. It was. So going back to the story, left Australia, 18 months with a property company, getting Kickback going. The conversation with my friend happened in November 2019. COVID hit in March.
Yeah. Much appreciated.
That point of, I remember sat at home and someone came onto the TV and said the phrase, do not go to pubs and coffee shops. Like that there was probably a lot more, but
the bit you listen to
tell the story, stick with the facts. Never let the truth get in.
Parliament said coffee shop out.
Yeah, they didn't say anything else. They literally came onto the screen. It was probably the Prime Minister, and said, I've got this really quick statement: don't go to pubs, don't go to coffee shops. And at that point, I was like, I'm fucked. I'm like, that is genuinely the reaction that I had. And in the next 72 hours, so at that point, bit of sort of like business context is, if you're to write a Idiot's Guide to Coffee Roasting, or 101 of coffee roasting. Go find 10 Volkswagen customers and look after them. That's the easiest way to start what it is that we do. And that's essentially what I had. I had a small handful of local cafe owners, restaurants that I supplied. When that news report came out, within the next 72 hours, every single one of those customers, so sorry, I've cancelled my orders, cancelling my orders. So at the end of that, I was like, fucked, okay? And look, there's some other parts to it, but I remember, and the time doesn't kind of make sense here, but in the next sort of 3 months, there was the government, like, restrictions started to get worse, and the initial period of there's no support for business owners. And look, I've got some good fortune here, as in I live with my partner. She still had a job. She was still employed at that point. So from a family, from a family perspective, there are people who had that period of their life was a lot worse than I was. So I see the good fortune in that. But from a perspective solely of Kickback, in that first 3 months, there was a grant. I think it was like a 10K grant, might be 5,000. I don't know, somewhere between 5 or 10K. And it came through, and I remember, because the weather in the UK at that point was, it was unbelievable. It was like rosé and wine nights every single garden, every single evening. And I was sat there in the garden, I'll say with a pale rosé, I don't know what I was drinking. And I remember just going, oh my God, the money's just gone in my bank account. And that was almost like I knew that I could almost like go all the way back to foundations, because I could pay the rent, I could pay the money that I owed on suppliers, and I knew that I was at zero again. Yeah. And I still had all the things that I had and everything. And I went into the roastery, and I got a big sheet of brown paper, and I wrote on it, adapt or die. Like, that was it, adapt or die. And I did like this big spider diagram. It's how I do my my year planning as well. I still do it now. And had all of these things. And there's someone who's actually who's pivotal in this story, ex-rugby player called David Jackson, who at the time had a really big social media following. And I had a chat with him, and he was like, what are you doing with your emails? I was like, what do you mean? He's like, your email list. I'm like, I don't know.
What email list, yeah.
And he's like, you're an idiot. Yeah. That was the start of it. And he was like, send them an email. Try and get transition from B2B to B2C. People are at home. They want to hear from you. Talk to them. And he gave me a little bit of a strategy of how to take a very small social media and connect in a better way. He gave me a little bit of almost like rhythm to posting and narrative to posting. And Kickback at that point was very much, it was a founder-driven narrative, as in here's Alex, started off in a popcorn machine, now he's roasting coffee. That was the start of it. Nice. And in that period of losing everything to people then wanting to be at home, wanting to learn more, wanting to support local, like all of these phrases.
Be part of your story, right? That's a big one.
Exactly. And I went from having a wholesale business, which had a website that might have done 5 orders a month, right? Online, 5 orders a month, to at some point in the next 12 months during sort of lockdown and COVID, we were doing 25 a day.
Nice, right? Wow.
And we turned a opportunity into a D2C business, and we had a e-commerce business. And even to a point of, because of the restrictions in and around supplying food and things, I was still able to do the delivery. So I would hand deliver these to people, and then that would then connect the fact that they'd followed a narrative, a story, they'd see the person doing it, and then the person would be delivering it.
And they're part of your story.
Exactly. And some of that goodwill that I earned in that sort of like 2020, 2021, I believe is still paying off now.
Yeah.
And so to answer your question of like some big pivotal moments, that was the biggest one. And then the next 2 years, lots of different transitions from people. I suppose one key part that did happen, that this is a big part of the story, is where our previous roastery was on a popular hill called the Brickworks. Really, really big cycling community, sort of like South Manchester. Team GB train here, and this is one of the best roads into the Peak District. It's basically a hill that takes you to where all the fun is. And if you remember some of the lockdown restrictions where you could go out for an hour's worth of exercise. So I had this small little quaint Peak District commercial unit that I put a hatch on, and there would be a queue like 20 down the road with no signs, no nothing.
Yeah.
But people knew that I was there. And slowly but surely, this just, again, built traction. People would start talking about, oh, do you know about this secret little coffee shop? And it was weird. But why is that important to where we are today is, I think at that point, I started to connect something else that was big in my life, which was coffee was always a gateway to doing activity.
Yeah.
So once upon a time, I'd drink coffee to be with friends. Once rugby finished, I would have the coffee to take me out camping. It would be to have before I went riding. It would be like something like this.
Yeah.
And I realized that so many other people, because of where we were based, were doing the same thing.
Yeah.
They'd go for a ride. I learned about this thing called a cafe ride.
Yeah.
And at that point, the narrative slowly started to change from here's a founder-driven story who started with a popcorn machine to here's a founder-driven story to this is what I do with my coffee.
Yeah.
And taking us on this like next step of we are this adventure coffee company. Nice. That point was the sort of like the swing. And I think over the last sort of 5 years, that has been one of the most exciting things that happened, because who we are today is so many steps removed from we talk about the founder, the popcorn machine, we barely ever talk about roasting. We always talk about this, where's your coffee going to take you?
Yeah.
We don't sell cups of coffee, we sell reasons to get outdoors.
Yeah, nice.
And so many
Love
of our
that.
customers today are on that. And so I suppose in terms of like big tipping points, it wasn't COVID as the actual event, it was the things that happened because of it.
Yeah, nice. I think this is super geeky branding, but that's a game changer because you've taken the identity of what you do with a mechanism. It's like Lululemon, they sell a lifestyle, they don't sell clothes. I think people want to be part of a brand and part of a story. And I've bought Kickback for however long because I know you, not because it is amazing coffee. But there wasn't, I know other people that roast coffee, but it's not. I played rugby with you. I've known you for years. I'm also, like, similarly in that regard, believe in that as the narrative. But more so, I think this is one of the most underutilized pieces of business generally. And leaders actually struggle to do that. They struggle to articulate the depths of their story because they miss that's the glue that holds. Like we talked about, there's so many rugby players who have invested in companies, but they are stood there with a bag of coffee, just going, "Do you want a coffee?" Where you're doing that's your USP, but more so, it's not a fabricated Instagram story USP. It's the exact opposite. It's no. I'm going to tell you to drink this coffee whilst I am camping in the Lake District. Not I'm going to tell you to go take your coffee to the Lake District and do it. There's such a massive difference, and I think other founders in that. Did you find that was a driving factor to start growing your team? Because I think that's rugby's a weird thing, innit? But I haven't seen you however long. It's like I saw you yesterday, still talking shit in the changing rooms with Phil Eggleshaw stood there in his pants, yeah? We'll rinse him anyway. Same thing. But rugby players have got this weird identity connection piece where once you've done something hard together, or once you've done something that has had a form of like deep connection in that regard, it's not lost. Did you find that when you were growing your team, was it more grown external, like people were coming from all over the place to come and join Kickback, or was it more quite natural? Actually, they've heard about the journey, they want to be involved, because gyms are the same. It's like an oil slick. Once they drop it, suddenly it starts to gain traction from a local in compared to out from everywhere. How did that feel for you?
That phrase of local, that's the starting point. So if you think that sort of, again, just in and around the story that I shared about timing is so much of support local. So that helped. And I think some of the things that we are fortunate to have is that because of this narrative, and especially around cycling, our local happened to be world class. Like, for the fact that Team GB would come and stop off, we had a point where one of the Ineos riders, so at that time they were the best team, and Ian Stannard was retiring, and one of his teammates basically said, "Look, Alex, we want to give him his retirement bike. we want to bring the whole team here, and then we want to surprise them and give them the bike. They did it at ours. And so much of that is not because we're world class, it's because we were local that just happened to have world class people in and around it. And so to answer your question about building a team, where do they come from? At first, you have to rely on people that are close to the story. But as we've grown, especially in the last sort of 2 years, because the brand has grown bigger outside of this local area, we're starting to bring more people in, because yes, we are a specialty coffee roaster, but we are so much more. And I think the talent that we're able to find are people who latch on to the fact that we are something more. We do have this brand identity. And the brand identity is the thing that brings in really unique people. And I think that is the bit that I like, the oil slick sort of like analogy there, is that is how you actually keep making it bigger and bigger, because you keep finding these unique people that link in with a specific skill set, but more importantly, the brand narrative.
Yeah, nice.
I think there's one other thing that I'd add to it as you were asking those questions, is almost that idea of how did I take the team mentality part from sports and then put that into business. I read a book by a guy called Michael Gerber. It's called The E-Myth, Why Businesses Fail. Might butcher that, so fact check that bit.
Yeah, it is The E-Myth, yeah.
And in it, there was one takeaway where, and the book kind of follows the story of, I think she's a baker, and he follows this story of, right, you're a founder, we're going to write every single job title, okay? So they build out a whole organizational chart, and they write job titles for every single one, so marketing, finance, ops, keeps going. And then we're going to write a contract, and we're going to say that you report to you and you sign off by you, and you're going to sign every single one of these contracts. So all of these contracts are done, and what the bigger clever part of it is, you're basically building a business structure when there's only one of you.
Yeah.
But the thing that it did for me was it made me realize, and these are my words now, is I was wearing many hats, spinning many plates. And I would have a marketing hat, a sales hat, a ops hat, all of these. And I'd get to a point where Kickback would get a little bit of money, and I'd be like, oh, I could pay myself here, but I wouldn't. I'd go and hire someone. Then the two of us would be operating, and we'd make a little bit of money. And he'd be like, oh, I could pay myself here, and I wouldn't. And I'd go hire someone. And the bit that the E-Myth taught was that whole idea of being able to identify, don't just bring someone in to be another set of hands, bring someone in to do something very specific.
Yeah, nice.
And that has helped us get to this point.
How many do you want me to ask you how many we've got in
How many people?
Yeah.
Over the entire business, so we spread over 5 sites, there's 51 of us.
51 from one man and a popcorn machine. That is absolutely wild. It takes delayed gratification in that regard is a funny piece of the puzzle. I think there's a piece of understanding the bigger game. There's a book from Simon Sinek called The Infinite Game, which talks around basically that you pull motivation and push motivation inside of a company. Pull motivation is I'm going for the mission, and it's like Everest, like what you guys are doing. You've got 5 sites currently, but who knows what's next. But then there's push motivation, which I'm forcing you because I want to find an exit. A lot of founders that I work with are caught between the rock and the hard place, because this is your baby. Like, you are your coffee is you. If we go back, rugby was you were rugby. It's just your identity. You're not trying to find balance. You've got an integrated life with relation to the coffee shop and everyone in it and everything. Where other founders are just pushing for an exit. And the difference is that soulless struggle of just trying to find someone to fill a gap that they don't even know what's in the gap. They just want to fill it. And that's where so many people got pointless work. Where here, like you said, it comes across like you're finding unique hands for a unique skill set to paint the most imperfect picture, which is the never-ending one. It's like, cool, well, you could do this. Well, hang on, we could actually bring in and build that. And I'm assuming over the growth of Kickback, that has also changed when you've gone from 5 people, 10 people, 15 people. I assume that from that as a leader, how did you find? Again, it's the same as the rugby thing, but I think this is really prevalent. It's like rugby, you knew when to jump. Yeah. With business, how did you know? What was your go-to like? Hang on a minute, we can make another one here, or hang on a minute, we can invest in a. What was for you? I think the cooler bit is more because I'm quite curious around your thought process around it, because there's the obvious logistics of opportunity cost and that kind of thing, but was it always like, do you know what? No, I see this, or was it just a case of hang on a minute, we're missing a trick here? How did that go with you?
So when you first said it and I smiled, my reaction, my instant word was because I was bored.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that, but equally,
no.
There's a part of me that
you want challenge. You're wired for challenge. You've said that earlier. It's like you want that. If it's as easy, it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be hard and enjoyable at the same time, yeah?
I just want to fact check that I definitely don't get bored of what it is that we're doing, but it's more that at a point where I feel like I have a little bit of capacity, like a little bit of capacity, is we're going to go again. And I think from a perspective of making better decisions when I get to those points, I was fortunate that one of the customers who has followed Kickback's journey is an incredible FD. And he chatted away and gave me some advice. And one of the things that he was willing to do at the beginning was he was like, look, we're going to use this 4-point email. And all I want you to do is once a week, send it to me. I'm not going to respond to you every single time, so don't expect a response. But what I want you to do is just send it to me. And every now and again, I might pick up and give you a response. And the short of it is basically what's gone well, what could have gone better, what's in the medium term. Then he used this phrase, what's parked in the car park. And that one thing was unbelievable for me at the time because I like to generate loads of ideas, and I didn't want to deviate from the plan, which was kickback. He was like, we're going to park it in the car park. And it basically means that you're going to be able to be really creative, chuck it in there, and know that you've shared an idea. And when it comes to almost having capacity again, you've got, I've got 20% here. Yeah. What's parked in the car park? And along that way, it has almost been a great way of thinking about how the business is run is what went well this week, what didn't go quite to plan, what's in the short term, and what's parked in the car park. And I think even today, we try and structure our week a little bit like that in terms of how can we affect what is happening right now? What have we got that we need to start thinking about? And what are some of the really fun projects that if we get the ability to do it, we're going to do it. And you don't ever have to waste any resources on it, because I think that is another easy mistake that people make, is like loads of ideas, and nothing fucking happens.
Yeah.
So almost giving me especially, and I think my personality, I needed that box.
Huge. There's a book called Rocket Fuel, which basically talks around CEOs and how do CEOs and CFOs all work together. And basically, you've got a visionary and an integrator. Visionaries are usually leaders. They're people that are like, I don't want the detail, I want the big funnel. Right, we're going over here. Give that to an ops manager, and they build the systems and the strategy, which again, it comes across like you. As soon as you've got the thing stable, you're looking at like, cool, your internal dialogue saying, well, what could be different, what could we do, and being more creative. And that's that. I think it's really nice to watch, because it's funny when I watch in like other humans in that respect. The narrative of curiosity seems to be quite a big narrative of your whole process ever since you were at Leicester. Like everything's always been, yeah, cool, I've got this is amazing. But what could a popcorn machine do? Like, I think that's wicked, because I think you're fucking about finding out. And I think not many people have that level of like authenticity with themselves to actually do. I need to actually go and explore that, but let that beast out, and then bring that back. And I think that's really, really coy with regards to that. With regards to moving for you, how have you found it from you said growing the team? You mentioned around before around the sort of the ethos, your ethos. Give us a bit of an oversight of how your leadership skills and what you've brought as a leader, as well as from sport. Because I think that's really big. Is we see two types of people. Most people that I work with personally have been played at a high level of sport for some reason, and the integrity of how they operate in their business. You could close your eyes and they're just playing the sport. Give us a bit of a look in relation to that, as how you found that. Was it an easy integration? It was just an obvious piece of your behavior, or was it a case of that you had to sit down and go, hang on a minute, how do I develop coffee? Because I think it feels quite natural from over here, but give us a bit of a story on that.
Multi-site changes it, okay?
Yeah.
So if I give you like single site earlier days, then that's definitely very much how I started off, which was, I'm going to lead by example. That was my thing, is I'm going to take the Amazon method of work longer, harder, smarter. And I think that concept was definitely something that if I had to answer that question for myself, the team might say something different, but it was very much, I'm going to be there, I'm going to be present, I'm going to show up, and I'm going to make sure that I'm really good at this. The moment that you become a multi-site operation is you can't do it, because you can't be there.
No.
So I think the best lesson that I almost learned on management style was the moment we open two, you then have to have structure. And I think even now I make mistakes, and I'll agree to, I am good at owning up to mistakes. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things that sports teaches you is you have to be accountable. There's no, oh no, I didn't miss that tackle. It's
the tape's watching you, mate. Yeah,
it's on camera.
Ken knows rinsing you, say you dropped the ball, bro. Yeah,
exactly. So I think so many of the times in sort of like my management style is, well, number one, you're going to hear me own up to mistakes, and I think that's one of the biggest things. That the multi-site version of it is you've got to get a structure in place that means that you have got to take the opportunities to have the max input without that much time. And I think building a organizational chart, a method of almost managing down, especially in hospitality, I don't think it works in every single business. I think you can be more linear in certain ones, but from a perspective of sort of the sports transition, it was being there, being present, being good. Look, I'm still very fortunate that I started the business doing everything. So even things such as I ran the social media took for a certain amount of time. I have built websites, I have roasted, I have packed bags, I have poured coffees, I've turned up to events, I've slept in a leaky tent, I've fixed a tire on the side of a road, I've been up at events or working at 5 a.m, I've worked till 10 p.m, like all of these things I've already done. So I suppose being able to resonate with the people that you're asking to do these things is like, no, I get it.
Rapport, yeah.
Because I've done that. I've won that. And I think one of the things that is probably an interesting sort of path is what that looks like for the next 3 to 5 years. Because as we keep growing, people who come and join the team from sort of like a barista or front of house production, sort of they'll get further away from me, but further away from me having done all of those jobs. Yeah. And it's almost like, oh, what's that suit now?
Yeah.
I don't wear a suit, still wear
no,
shorts.
I definitely would not expect that loss.
There is that sort of side of it. So originally turning up, being there, making sure I was good. The competitive side of me would look at someone doing something. We had competitions who could bag the fastest. We'd have latte art battles who was the best.
You had fun, mate.
Yeah, I put my competition in there. I think there's definitely little bits from my management style in terms of I've probably got a smaller team that I work with now. I still force competition. I like competition. I'm a lot better at not being as competitive as I have been in the past. I genuinely think that's probably one of the maturity steps that I have taken is I would be a lot more competitive than I am.
Yeah, the competitive edge is something that I find is like a gateway in most companies, because if they embrace that even in a fun context or a general context, that everyone's kind of on the same wavelength. So I was going to ask this later on, but I'm going to ask this now on this, because especially when it comes down to that, because you having fun is a pressure valve, yeah? You get fun about with your mates. You going out for an adventure is a pressure valve for life, generally, very general speaking. Someone who's operating at your level, how do you decompress and not burn out? Because if we talked about like this now, this is your life, yeah? This is everything. And something that I work a lot in the burnout space personally, but it's why I'm aligned with the adventure piece. I say to everybody, if you want to come for a meeting with me, you live in Manchester, I live near Doveston, we'll go for a walk. Not, we're going to go into, I have to come and be desperate into it, because there's loads of geeky physiological reasons, but for you, for someone who is growing at such a rapid rate, how are you creating space, still finding time for your family and not burning out? I'm really interested to hear.
So I have a daily answer, a weekly answer, and an emergency answer. So the daily answer is I like being in the kitchen. So even after a long day, I go home and I will be the person who stands in the kitchen and cooks. And why does it work? It means that I'm off comms and my brain has to think. And my partner would be sat there and would be having a conversation, but I can't go home and sit down. That's it. I'm done. So every day it would be I'd go home and I'd cook. Okay. Then eventually I do start to wind down. From a weekly standpoint, it's connecting with the outdoors. Go for a walk with my family and my dog, like absolutely love. And again, it's that point where you choose to leave comms for a certain amount of time. And look, I'm fortunate that Peak District is on my doorstep. So there's that, and the outdoors also includes going for runs, going for rides, but they're all very much almost on the well-being side of it as opposed to any sort of training.
Yeah.
The emergency cord is what I like to call my angry ride. So I have a Peloton at home, and it will be my head's fucked, and I've got too many things going on. There's too much noise, and it is going to be like a 30-minute HIIT session with loud music and a point where I'm going to try and get my heart rate to 100%. And the only thing that my body and my brain will allow me to do is just think about breathing, because if not, I'm going to black out.
That's there.
And
how good is that? Yeah, you're a bit of me.
I think finding that is something that not everybody knows how to do. And I think sport definitely taught me that. And even to a point in my relationship is, my partner would say, it's like, this has actually got some connotations. I've kind of laughed just before I said it. It's like, do you need a ride? Yeah. It's not that tight. Just
I say it to my wife all the time, bro.
Yeah. Well, that's not what she's suggesting. Is
or more, a slap.
Yeah. She knows when I think my brain starts to get full, and it just needs almost like a bit of a reset. And that all it takes is it's 30 minutes, and it's 30 minutes of flat out anaerobic, heart rate past 190, eyes roll, let's go. Nothing else happens. You can't think about anything, because all you're trying to do is get oxygen into your body. And so far, that's it. That's what keeps you ticking. Keeps you grounded.
Everyone needs a pressure valve. Rugby players, not just rugby players, people that have played sport, I always say you've got an inner monster, and you have to feed that inner monster. And however that is for you is how it is for you. Not many people actually know that. They rely on external drivers to be able to understand that they'll go and they'll expect something to happen to gain clarity on that. The main thing is you understand the pressure valves, and you also understand there'll be a self-awareness piece so you can manage it. The amount of people that come to me with burnout, and it's just resource management of some description. It's not physiological, it's not psychological. It's the fact that you're wearing 10 hats, but you have to for 6 years rather than delegating or whatever. But that dark energy you said there is one, it's a superpower because you know you've got it in the locker. It's like a trust exercise, but more so that's like a sadistic, I know full well, the way you framed it's wicked, because most people, they say it quite self-abusive. They use exercise as self-abuse, especially in the CEO thing. They're like, I'm going to send it. The difference is you've been at the elite level of sport, and you have been in dark, like you've taken your body to places that people will understand. So that's why you're the maximum minimal dose of using dark energy actually maximizes your performance, compared to what most people think is that all the time you have to have the pressure valve. It has to be absolutely hideous, when most of the time it's jumping on a bike and pissing off into the peaks for 2 or 3 hours. And I think that is massive for founder performance, generally speaking, and for businesses, is actually having that as, I work quite a bit in the well-being space. The amount of times where I say that you've got no direct sunlight in here, like, why do you think everyone's pissed off? And they look at you like, what drugs do you take? And I was like, you've got this new building built, and you've got no windows, boss. Like, it's such a paradox, because most people don't know what makes them tick. And I think that's something that I love to get across to people, is understanding what makes them tick in that regard. 2 more questions, mate. One, because I'm curious, what's your next physical challenge? You mentioned earlier about having a physical challenge. Have you got something in the locker or not?
So I've got 2. I'm going to do a 10K swim. I'm going to do that in August this year. Yeah. Can I swim? Yes, I can. Am I a swimmer? No, I'm not.
Where?
It is in Windermere.
Nice.
Great North Swim.
Yeah, nice.
And I did an Ironman 2 years ago, and I loved the swimming part of the training. I think that, so I don't do pool swimming. Hate pool swimming.
Cool, nice.
Monotonous, boring, don't want to be there.
It's me.
Don't want to be there.
Yeah,
just don't. So just there's a couple of open water lakes. So I think that whole idea of you go to well-being and sort of like jumping in a lake first thing in the morning, do an hour,
personally go to Buttermere, mate. There's one I would do it at Clarkey. Yeah. I'll send you it, mate. It's the best swim I've ever done in my life. But it's basically it's a gorge. So it goes, as you swim, it goes to a drop off, and I'll send you it. It's absolutely elite level. Open water swimming is a weird one. The same thing for me is I swim like a fridge, but I absolutely loved it, even though I'm shit at swimming. But it's for everything else that comes with it, not I want to go in the pool and do 10 500s. It's actually, I want to do a swim for half an hour. you get into it, but it's the same thing you mentioned about that dark energy bit. Is all you have to focus on is your breathing and your rhythm, because otherwise you're even worse. So you're gonna fucking drown. That's massive. What's the second one?
About 20 years ago, Jesus Christ, about 15, 20 years ago, I watched a documentary about Ben Fogle rowing across the Atlantic.
Nice.
I'm signed up. I'm sick.
Are you?
So 2 years, I will
Lock
row.
and fucking load, mate.
I will row the Atlantic as a single.
As a single?
Yeah. So I leave 12th of December, 28.
That is absolutely massive.
Yeah. And I've still not learned how to row yet. So yeah, we'll figure that bit out.
Like, hey, I think you have a lot of time to fuck about and find out when you're out there, mate.
Exactly.
Just everything from the currents and everything. What an epic challenge.
Well, I haven't done it yet.
No.
How about you come back after I've finished, and then I'll tell you.
100% we will. We will get. If you ever need, I've got a mate, again, we'll talk about that. I've got a mate of mine that might be able to help you with that. Lastly, I always ask this to everybody is what's the next piece of the puzzle that you have for your company and your team? Is there anything in particular that's happening going forward, or is it a case of stabilising where we are?
I think there's some easy answers to that. If I said that my goal is to open 10 stores, like 10 stores is a big metric, big goal that we've got. So opening those is quote unquote, that's an easy, straightforward one, right? The bigger one is this whole concept of wanting to be synonymous with adventure and coffee. So I said at the beginning is that Kickback is this adventure coffee company. There's no metric, no data, no award, no nothing that's going to say that, oh, you've done it, well done. Yeah. You are the company. Yeah. So some of the things that we are trying to do this year, and we're going to launch our first one, is this whole idea of like a sponsored athlete program. Cool. And taking the inspiration from Red Bull, how they do their marketing is Red Bull helmets. So Kickback will do its first pro helmet in a few weeks or a month's time. So
how mega is that?
Yeah, it is. And seeing the people represent that's gonna be cool.
How mega, that's awesome, mate. Again, I could stand there for ages and talk to you about it. Give the viewers a bit of where can they find you. I'll put all the links of obviously the coffee and that, where can they find you if they have any questions about the bigger stuff, or just buy some wicked coffee. Where can they find you?
Kickbackcoffee.co.uk. We're on Insta is probably the one that we interact with the most. That's at Kickback Coffee. You want to find me personally, I'm on LinkedIn, Alex Shaw. I'm sure you'll share that link. I'm always happy to talk to people. So if there's any questions, very happy to share. And yeah.
Bosh, done. Thank you very much, man. Appreciate you.
Awesome.
Legend.
Cheers.
Take it easy.